honor and respect for directions, land, waters, plants, animals, ancestors that walk before us in all the wonderful elements of creation that exist. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation for sharing their traditional territory with us. Thank you all very much for coming to our event this afternoon. The speaking portion of the event is being filmed with closed captions and will be made available after the event via 7 websites of the electoral district associations in this region. I'd now like to begin with some acknowledgements of dignitaries in the audience today, which we have quite a few. I'd ask the dignitaries to stand as you are being mentioned, to remain standing, and ask the audience to hold their applause until the last dignitary has been mentioned. We have Mayor Al Alls of the town of Erie, Councillor John Challoner of the town of Milton, the Honourable Tony Clement, former MP and MVP, Councillor Mike Pruitt, town of Milton, Garth Dunlop, former member of Provincial Parliament, Cam Jackson, former member of Provincial Parliament and former mayor of Burlington, Councillor Jeff Knoll, town of Oakville, Mayor Gordon Krantz, the longest serving mayor I believe in Canada, of the town of Milton, Dennis Timbrell, former MP for Don Mills, Mike Wallace, former member of Parliament for Burlington, and Terrence Young, former member of Parliament for Oakville. Let's all give them a round.
I have been traveling all across the country, and everywhere I go, I'm asked the same question. Why are you putting your name forward again for the second time? And the truth is that the reason why I put my name forward in 2020 for the leader of the party, coming from outside, not having the connections inside of politics, is because I saw that my nation was in need of help. And the same reasons are here today, but now they are magnified. The fabric of our nation is being torn apart. Provinces are threatening to leave our great confederation. Debt is piling up to the tune of $1.2 trillion. Every single day, we pay $141 million a day to service our debt. Think of how we have saddled future generations with debt. In addition, the social fabric of society is disintegrating. We have seen family members not speaking to each other because of their vaccination status. And we have a Prime Minister that has used something so tragic as COVID to divide and demonize and really set Canadians apart. We are a country in need of healing. We are a party in need of unity. And the next leader will have to be a bridge builder. I will be that bridge builder. I am running because I want the next generation to be able to own a home just like I have. And I see that dream dissipating with increasing cost of living and inflation. I want parents to be able to raise their children in accordance with their values without government intervention. And that is why I promote a parental rights bill that will have a national impact. People of faith should be able to practice their faith without government intervention, and that is why I would reinstitute the office of religious freedom. I'm here for the small business owner who told me that they're using their credit card. They use their credit card to make sure that their employees could stay employed during COVID. Small businesses employ over 80% of all Canadians, and my policies will reinstill confidence in small business owners so that they can take a chance again and help rebuild our economy. I want to bring back faith in our has acted as an arm of the Liberal government. And I care about our environment. Under me, we will have a strong environmental policy, but we will develop our natural resources. It is not mutually exclusive from environmental sustainability. We will build pipelines. We will make sure that the 550 million barrels of oil that's imported every single day to Canada, that is replaced with Canadian oil.
Participate in building the future of our Conservative Party. We're being here in Burlington today with people from Hamilton, Oakville, Milton, Mississauga. It's an honor. These are all places, of course, hard-working, patriotic Canadians who roll up their sleeves, earn their keep, and give back to their communities. It actually reminds me very much of Huntsville, my hometown, where I did serve as mayor for 5 years. For the past, destroying the place.
That's right.
For the past 7 years, we have been let down by a government and politics that is not working for too many Canadians. I've been in Parliament now for 2 terms, and I am dismayed by the energy wasted on political games instead of getting things done. What is missing in Ottawa is leadership. In a world of instability, where too many families are unable to find a place to call home, where young people are losing hope in the future, and our politics seems to further divide us every day, our party, our Conservative Party, must be the answer to bring Canadians together. We must be the party to offer real leadership to tackle the affordability crisis, reignite the Canadian economy, and write the great Canadian comeback story. Our movement needs a leader who will show the country that we have the right approach to turn words into action and get Canada back on track. Too many Canadians have simply given up on home ownership. That is why I'm putting forward the EDA plan to build more houses across Canada. We will end exclusionary zoning, tie federal infrastructure funding to results. We'll invest in social housing to crack down on money laundering that's making this crisis worse. Canada's housing market must not be a safe haven for the world's criminals, and we will invest in social housing. Because make no mistake, the dignity of a place to call home is the very foundation of a fulfilling life, and every Canadian deserves a warm bed to sleep at night. We must act now to make life more affordable and make the dream of home ownership accessible once again. As I have traveled across Canada, I have seen how a hard day's work doesn't mean as much as it once did. Inflation is running rampant. Gas prices are soaring. Wages have not kept up. Our economy is not working for the hard-working Canadians who power, and that must change. Together, we will make life more affordable by scrapping the carbon tax. I know how expensive it is to heat your home and to fill your car with gas. I know the carbon tax unfairly punishes those who don't have an option to ride the subway to work, who have no other choice but to drive their vehicle down the QEW 401. The carbon tax does not work for Canadian families. We will have a serious climate plan, but it will not include an unfair consumer carbon tax, period. And we will end Pierre Trudeau's supply management system. We will do it to lower your roads. We will bring down the cost of milk, cheese, chicken, and other poultry products. We will do it to open up opportunities for the thousands of extraordinary Canadian farmers and help them break into new markets around the world. We are going to be bold and relentless in our mission to make life more affordable for Canadian families. And if you want to be a part of that, I need your vote. I need your hard work. I need you on my team. Conservatives know that Justin Trudeau talks the talk about unity and inclusion, but doesn't walk the walk. He talks about following the science, yet still supports this unscientific vaccine mandate. He's not doing it for public health. He's doing it because he thinks it's a great way to earn votes. We need a leader who stands up for all Canadians. It's time to end all mandates and bring respect back to politics in Canada. Justin Trudeau talks about diversity, and yet he refuses to stand up for the right of every single Canadian to proudly wear a cross or a hijab, a turban or a kippa at their place of work. Quebec's Bill 21 is wrong, and I will stand up to it, because leaders do this right. This leadership election is about who can unite on the ballot and choosing a leader who will relentlessly pursue action and results for our great country over rhetoric and division is absolutely on the ballot. I am a leader who rejects the politics of fear and anger. I am a leader who will show Conservatives and all Canadians that there is a better approach. Status quo is not good enough. We will bring respect to our fellow Conservatives and to our politics. We will create a culture of results in Ottawa, but friends, I cannot do it without you. If you're willing to talk to your neighbors, ask your friends to join our team, if you're willing to make some phone calls for me and stand with me and give me your vote, then join me. And I'm out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael, and Leslyn, Scott, Pierre, and Ron, and Patrick, and Mr. Muse. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor for me to stand on this stage today as a candidate for this leadership race of the Conservative Party of Canada. And it's an honor for me to stand on this stage with my fellow candidates. And like every other candidate, when we went into this race, the first question we're always asked is why? Why would you run? In fact, my wife, Michelle, when I went to meet her to convince her, the first question she asked me is whether I had had a CAT scan. But there is, those of you who know my story know that there is one common thread of my whole political life, and that has been my passion for Canada, for this extraordinary country of ours. I'm among those who know and believe that to be a citizen of this country is to win the lottery, that this is the first prize of all the countries in the world. And yet I see a country that's deeply divided. More divided today than it has been in the last 40 years. And that, by the way, hangs on the Prime Minister. It is the Prime Minister's first responsibility to keep this country united. And yet, we haven't been this balkanized in the last 40 years. That, my friends, is the key issue that we're facing in this country. And I also see a country that's way below the potential that it has economically, the price of housing, inflation. And on the international stage, we have no voice. I was part of a government that fought against apartheid. I saw a Prime Minister go toe-to-toe with Maggie Thatcher and Ronald Reagan. A Prime Minister who supported Desert Storm, that did a trade agreement with the United States and Mexico in the 90s, and the Clean Air Act in 1990 with the United States. We had a voice. Canada counted. And yet, when I look out now, we have no voice. We have no influence in the world. I'm running in this race as a conservative, not a hyphenated conservative. I am running as a conservative who believes in the values that you and I share. I'm a fiscal conservative. So much so that after 15 years of the government that I led, which was a coalition of federalists, when Mr. Legault in Quebec became premier, he was left with an $8 billion surplus. $8 billion. You are not going to see that in your lifetime again. And I'm sorry to say this in a room in Ontario, but Quebec actually has a higher credit rating than Ontario. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what fiscal conservatism is about. And why do we do it? Not because we like to line up numbers on a sheet of paper, because we know that our ability to get things done, to protect the future, depends on our ability to run government and to keep a balanced sheet. That's what fiscal conservatism is about. I believe in a market-based economy. I believe in economic policies that promote growth, including resources. I promoted a plan called Plan Oil for Quebec to develop the mineral sector, the mining sector in Quebec. Supported oil and gas and pipelines. In fact, the last pipeline built in Quebec was built under my government. And by the way, what I say to you here in Ontario, today, I say in French in Quebec with the same tone and the same conviction. That is leadership, standing up for what you believe in. And I believe in economic growth, not just for economic growth, because we want Canadians to have more of what they earn in their own pockets, so that they can buy a house, so that they can increase their wages and raise a family. The other conservative value in which I believe and we share is a belief in family, all families, as the core of our society. And I believe also in the rule of law, one of the foundations of our society, one of the basic foundations of what we need to do. Scott mentioned Bill 21 a moment ago. I was asked to implement the equivalent when I was premier, and I said no. It would have been more popular for me to do it back then, but I said no because it was wrong. It was contrary to the Quebec Charter and contrary to the Canadian Charter. And you know what? If this issue goes to the Supreme Court of Canada, I said to Quebecers, as I say to you today, my government will stand up and I will defend Canada. I will not be missing an action. But ladies and gentlemen, in closing, let me share one thought with you. Canadians are now looking to us as conservatives and asking themselves, are we up to it? Are we going to be the national alternative we always were destined to be? We have 7 ridings out of 57 in the GTA, friends. I will be a leader that will unite the party, but most of all, elect a national conservative government for all Canadians.
People feel like they've lost control of their lives. Could be the 14-year-old girl suffering from depression after 2 years separated from sporting and social activities. Small businessman who mortgaged his life to start a business only to have it locked down so many times it never opened up again. Could be the courageous trucker who delivered our goods and services across international borders without a vaccine for 2 years, while he was called a hero, all of a sudden to be turned into a villain by the Prime Minister and thrown out of his job for a personal medical decision. Then there's the economic control people have lost in their lives. You might be the single mother, skipping meals so your kids don't have to, because food price inflation has made you one of the 4 and 5 families that can no longer afford groceries. Or you might be the miner I met in Northern Ontario who no longer has the freedom to visit his dying parents in Thunder Bay because he can't afford $2 a liter to put in his truck to drive there. Or you might be the 32-year-old living in your parents' basement because you can't afford the $874,000 it now costs after 100% housing inflation over these last several years. Some people ask me why I'm running for Prime Minister. The answer is to solve that problem, that people feel like they're losing control of their lives. I am running for Prime Minister to make Canada the freest nation on earth so that you can take back control of your life. Yes. Freedom means control of your own body, the freedom to choose for yourself, and that is why I will fight tooth and nail to end the vaccine mandate once and for all. Then there's the freedom from having your paycheck robbed from you by government-induced inflation. Too many dollars chasing too few goods drives up prices. Trudeau has added $500 billion of inflationary deficits and used the Bank of Canada as his personal ATM to pay for it. We now have 30-year highs in inflation as a result, and people can't pay their bills. So freedom means that we phase out that deficit by cutting the wasteful spending that Trudeau has brought in, eliminating a $100 billion slush fund, cancelling the wasteful infrastructure bank, and yes, saving $1 billion by defunding the CBC. So politicians have to find $1 of savings for each new dollar of unbudgeted spending, so taxpayers and the economy can catch up with the cost of government. It means reining in the out-of-control and politicized Bank of Canada by ensuring that it sticks to its mandate of low inflation and a strong dollar by giving the Auditor General the ability to audit our central bank. Also means ensuring that the bank doesn't expand its control over the Canadian people and their finances with a central bank digital currency. I do not want Justin Trudeau or any politician to have the power to control the bank deposits of our population after the way they abused them during the trucker protest. Attack on our workers, our small business owners, our motorists, and our seniors trying to heat their homes by abolishing the carbon tax once and for all. It also means getting the gatekeepers out of the way. The gatekeepers who block housing construction so we have the fewest houses per capita in the G7 even though we have the most land to build on. I will use federal infrastructure money as a lever to pressure big city mayors to get out of the way, let builders build, and I will sell off 15% of the 37,000 federal buildings so that we can make more space for our young people to have affordable homes in this country, millions of new homes. Stop printing money, start building houses. Freedom means energy independence. That means that we abolish the Bill C-69, other anti-pipeline bills, allow Newfoundland to increase its oil production by 400,000 barrels a day to fully replace the 130,000 barrels we're bringing in from overseas, and I will ban dictator oil from this country altogether within 5 years. And freedom means freedom of expression. Getting rid of Trudeau's censorship laws, using federal funding to stand up to universities that quash free speech on campus, and ensuring that Section 2B of our charter is respected everywhere. We will confront the woke warriors, stand up for our freedom, and in the words of the great Canadian Prime Minister John Diefenbaker when he signed our Bill of Rights, I am a Canadian, a free Canadian, free to speak without fear, free to stand for what I think right, free to oppose what I believe wrong, free to worship God in my own way. This heritage of freedom I pledge to uphold for myself and for all of mankind. Thank you. Thank you.
And about a year and a half ago, I made a choice. I wasn't going to continue to inflict harm on Canadians I publicly opposed the lockdown and was removed from the Ontario PC caucus. I then fought like hell, in Parliament, in court, in the media, and social media, for our kids, for our choice, for our democracy. Because standing up for people is something I've done my entire career, as an advocate, a lawyer, and as a member of provincial parliament. Because I'm not afraid to say what I believe, or do what I believe is right. I came to Canada when I was 15, and I had every blessing our country has to offer. I love Canada, and I love Canadians, and I'm not going to sit back and watch the erosion of Canada's democracy and Canada's opportunity. That's why I'm running for leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. And we may disagree sometime, and that's fine, that's democracy, but you will always know where I stand. I want to thank the many of you for giving me courage and standing by me as we've been dealing with these unprecedented times. But we're not done. I made the health choice that most Canadians made, but that doesn't matter. Almost 3.5 million Canadians are experiencing unprecedented 21st century segregation. It's unbecoming and it's distasteful. So I invite you to help me, campaign with me, and work with me until every single Canadian has every single one of their rights fully restored. Some of you may know that I was born in the Soviet Union, and we didn't get our freedom until 1989. That's why I'm so passionate about Canada's democracy. In the Soviet Union, you couldn't leave beyond communist walls. That's why the fact that 3.5 million Canadians may not enter or exit Canada is something that should concern not just 3.5 million Canadians, but 35 million Canadians. Mobility rights are not just charter rights, they're human rights. I've also been fighting the mandates. I think it's inhumane to make someone choose between their ability to put food on the table and their personal health. And when you threaten someone's income, you take away that choice. That's why I brought the only legislation in the country to protect workers against mandates. But we're not done. Passports and mandates are an egregious violation. They're not based in science, it's certainly not based in law. The only reason Justin Trudeau is keeping them is to project power and satisfy his ego. He knows he lost on the science, but he continues with the politics of hate and division. I'm running for the leader of the Conservative Party to stand up to Justin Trudeau, to stand up to bullies, and stand up for all Canadians. And the best way to restore our democracy is to restore the most precious right of them all, and that's our freedom of speech. Because through speech we defend all other rights. And it's not just at this event or universities or the public square. I will prevent technological monopolies from censoring speech. I will stand up for regulated professionals to be heard. And I will defend the right of every parliamentarian to speak freely. Free speech is not just best for democracy, it's great for our public policy. So I invite you to join me and defend Canada's democracy. I'm also running to restore Canada's opportunity. You know, when we came to Canada, I didn't have a cent to our name. My first mattress was from the recycling bin across the street. But it didn't really matter, because I've always had a job, and I've always had this incredible joy because I had Canadian opportunity. Because all you need to do to succeed in Canada is work hard and to be nice to people. That's it. But many Canadians... Canadians, including myself, feel that Canadian opportunity is now being eroded. But there are things we can do about it, and it starts by letting Canadians do something they love to do, and that's work. Universal basic income will create more government dependency. It will cause drastic wage increase and raise prices and the cost of living. Canadians don't want universal basic income. We want to earn an income. I think that Canada's natural resources are a blessing, and I will not let oil and gas be cancelled. It's not just good for our strategic interest or our economic bottom line, it's also great for our planet, because Canadians can produce energy safer and cleaner than any other nation in the world. So I will repeal the carbon tax and the anti-pipeline bill, and I'm going to unleash Canada's potential and turn it into the energy and natural resources superpower that we ought to be. I'm not giving up on the Canadian dream of home ownership, and I will make that dream more attainable by doubling the first-time home buyers RSP exemption from $35,000 to $70,000. I'll divest ourselves of all federal land that isn't protected. Increasing the supply of land will bring down prices, and I'm going to start building transit and highways again to encourage the creation of new and affordable communities. That will bring down the price of housing. I have to win this race because we have to shake up the Conservative Party of Canada. We have to ask, why did you not stand up for Canadians? when their surgeries were cancelled, when their cancer screenings were missed, when they're suffering from the mental health pandemic caused by government? Why did it not stand up for Canadians before the trucker convoy rolled into town? Because the Conservative Party of Canada needs to earn your vote. It cannot take it for granted. And I'm going to ensure that we stand on principle again. That's what distinguishes us from the Liberals. Under my leadership, we will always say what we believe, and we will always do what we believe is right, even when it's unpopular. I'm going to respect views inside and outside the party. I will bring back voters who left. I'll protect and empower good MPs to do what's right by Canadians. And we will form the next stable, national, Conservative majority. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, I want to start off in a bit of a different tone. Great Conservative Prime Ministers built a big tent Conservative Party, and they built big teams that could speak to every corner of the country. I want to acknowledge at the start that if you look at the team of candidates running this leadership race, it really speaks to the diversity of opinion and the strength of the Conservative family in this country. You know, I look at Leslyn Lewis. I've known her for 10 years. She's been fighting for Conservative values specifically. I remember in places like Scarborough where we have not been as successful. I look at Scott Aitchison, who radiates kindness. He's the example of being collegial. I've yet to meet someone in Muskoka that doesn't love their MP. You know, I look at Jean Charest, and frankly, the country owes Jean Charest a debt of gratitude for your courage and determination keeping Canada together in 1995. Thank you. I look at Pierre Poilievre in his determined prosecution of the government's failed policies, particularly with inflationary crisis, is praiseworthy. And thank you for that determined effort. I look at Roman Baber, who at the beginning of COVID, it wasn't easy to challenge the lazy approach of lockdowns. And Roman sacrificed a lot to go against the grain, being one of the first politicians in the province to challenge lazy lockdowns. You look at a slate of candidates like this, it speaks to the strength of the Conservative movement. Too often as Conservatives, we focus on our differences. And I think we've heard today there's a lot of commonality of where we want to take the country. On taxes, Conservatives know that our country is overtaxed, and we will fight new taxes at every inch. I know that in Brampton, where I've challenged the orthodoxy of municipalities. And most municipalities across the country raise taxes again and again and again. Brampton is the only big city that has challenged that orthodoxy and to say that's not the solution. You can't simply charge people more and more. There is an affordability crisis in this country, and too many families are struggling to make ends meet. Candidates here today have spoken about pipelines and why we desperately need to build a national energy corridor. I find it unconscionable that when we go to fill up the tank here in Ontario, that I have to be a wealth generator for Saudi Arabia and Venezuela. I want to be a wealth generator for Canada. Many of us have spoken about law and order. I see that. I deal as a big city mayor with the challenges of guns and gangs in the GTA. And we have a criminal code that is a revolving door. It protects the rights of criminals over those of victims. And the Liberals have been tone deaf to the frustrations that our frontline law enforcement have raised. Conservatives can reconcile these challenges. 7 years ago, Justin Trudeau said he would deal with foreign credential recognition. He's done nothing. It's in silos. And just last week, I was speaking to a Lebanese community group in Ottawa where there was a fellow who had been trying to get his engineering credentials recognized for 9 years. I was in Saskatoon with a community from Kerala where they couldn't get accreditation to be nurses in our hospital. We need a government that will actually move on these issues. You look at Bill 21 in Quebec, which is an attack on religious freedom, that people lose their jobs based on their faith. That goes against the core of the Canadian dream that everything is possible. And it's tough to get everything when you're only given 6 minutes. And I've already got the yellow sign, but I look at the GTA, and too often we abandon seats as Conservatives. If we lean into the Canadian dream, that everything is possible with hard work in this country, I really believe that every seat is possible. I've seen that provincially. I remember running a by-election in Scarborough-Rouge River where the provincial party said, we've never won in that seat, we can't win in that seat, but I truly believe that every house we go to, that every family we can connect with, they're a potential Conservative voter. No more giving up on seats, no more giving up in any corner of this country. As Conservatives, we need to be determined and dogged in every seat in this country. Thank you.
I think we've added some more people, it sounds like. So it's my pleasure to provide some brief closing remarks for this formal portion of the agenda, because I know everyone wants to get on to the other part. You'll see the tables at the back where each candidate will be stationed, and you'll have a chance to talk to the candidates, ask your questions, get photos done. So we want to have that happen. But first, let's acknowledge that this is the very first time that all 6 verified candidates have been on one stage. And I think what you've heard is the same as what I've heard. And I know this from my brief few months so far in the House of Commons. There is more depth in all of these people than the entire Liberal front bench. And so, friends, in 4 months and 10 days, when our new leader is announced, it is very important that we are all united behind that person, because that person will be the next Prime Minister of Canada. And so regardless of who you support and how you rank your ballot, we've all got to be 100 and 1,000% behind that person, because we owe nothing less to Canadians, because the very future of our country is at stake. So with that said, all of the candidates took time from their very busy schedules to be with us this afternoon. So let's show our thanks with a robust round of applause for all of them. So thank you. But it also takes a great team to pull off an event like this, and so if you can bear with us, there's a lot of people who were involved in the organization of this event who need to be recognized. And we're going to just go riding by riding and name a few people. So first of all, and we'll save our applause to the end. So the riding of Burlington did a lot of heavy lifting on this. A couple people who deserve special recognition: Marilyn Hunter. Marilyn deserves the applause, but let's save the applause to the end. As well, Lori Allen, who ran all the volunteers, Debbie Soba and her security team, and of course Emily Brown, the candidate of record for Burlington. In Flamborough-Glanbrook, James Constable was our lead on the organization committee. In Milton, Nadine Sheikh and Nadeem Akbar, our candidate of record, were involved. In Mississauga-Lakeshore, Brian Smith, Blake Greenwood, and Mike Raz, our candidate of record there, were involved. In Oakville, Tim Crowder, Esther Shea, Mark Carr, and Harry Colburn, our candidate of record. And the other riding that did a lot of the heavy lifting was Oakville, North-Burlington, with Beth Gregg really the driving force behind all of this. And Helen Riscala, our candidate of record from Burlington. And of course, not least at all, our friend Michael Chong and the Wellington-Halton Hills Riding Association. Bill Roast from the Riding Association, but also Lori Norrie put together the entire RSVP list of 1,200, and so that's a lot of work. Last two thank yous are to Frank and Sonia from the Burlington Convention Centre. So let's give a round of applause to all the people involved.